folks. Welcome to Laser Focus. This is the deep dive pop culture podcast from Nerdist. I'm Kyle Anderson. Thank you for listening. You know, I try not to lie to you. I try to be as forthright and honest as possible, and it was never my intention to lie. So I apologize to everyone. At the end of every episode, I say my guest will be a different person, and this week I am lying because my guest is not a different person. It is the same person. It's Eric Diaz. Hi, Eric.
Hi. Twice in as many weeks, you're gonna make a girl blush.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, of course, this was a plan. I mean, it wasn't planned that this episode was going to happen when it did, but or last episode, I guess. But we are of course talking about Alien Earth because Alien Earth has just wrapped as we are recording this, and we are able to get the episode out basically 2 days after the show ends. So, which is very exciting. The first season, for a while was kind of just touted as a mini series, but it might just be the first season, question mark. We'll find out.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, it better be because it basically ends on a cliffhanger. So we'll get into the ins and outs of that series. Won't necessarily go episode by episode, but we will kind of like touch on the major arcs and things like that. And also later in the episode, you will get to hear my interview with creator, writer, director Noah Hawley, which was a really interesting conversation about some of the stuff that we'll talk about. So that is all to look forward to. But yeah, so like, you know, during this period of we have two shows kind of going on in the Nerdist sphere that we're covering pretty closely, at least Eric and I are, which are Alien Earth and Peacemaker. And Peacemaker, of course, is still going on. We'll have an episode about that in a few weeks. But it's interesting to go from a month where we had three really big movies coming out, and then suddenly, you know, then a little bit of a break, and then two big TV shows going on at the same time. But I asked you specifically if you'd rather be on the Alien Earth episode or the Peacemaker episode, and you wanted Alien Earth. So that gives me the notion that you have opinions, or at least are.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, for me to pick this over a DC thing.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Alien franchise. I mean, well, I love the first two movies in the Alien franchise,
which is basically all anyone acknowledges anymore.
Well, I mean, I also liked Alien Romulus. I have to say, I thought that was a really good return to form. I do think Alien Earth kind of smoked that movie, like in terms of just scope and, you know, new ideas, and like I think it's better. But like, it's like Alien is back on track in a big way as a franchise right now to me. You know, like, and this show is a large part of why it was just so surprising.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised. Noah Hawley is very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just, this is a kind of a damaged franchise. Like, they've tried so many times to kind of do something interesting. Even Ridley Scott couldn't really. I mean, we all, you know, Prometheus is what it is. And, you know, I don't hate Alien Covenant, but I don't remember it that much either. So that's not good. I
watched it on an airplane, which I think is the way to watch Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, because obviously there for a while, you know, Alien and Aliens are so beloved and so kind of trend setting and kind of showed the versatility of the concept. And then if you want to, there's a whole crazy history of Alien 3, which you can watch. Adam Murray did a video about that on Nerd's YouTube, which you should definitely check out. And then the weird French fourth one, Alien Resurrection, which was written by Joss Whedon and directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. So it's such a strange,
totally different like points of view on what this franchise is. Like, it was so a very weird mishmash.
Yeah. And I remember thinking it was pretty, you know, it came out in 97 or something like that. Yes. So like, I was definitely, I was like, oh, cool, Alien, you know, but and it is weird. Like, there's definitely weird stuff in all of the movies. And then we had those Alien versus Predator movies, which basically are not movies.
They're not canon.
They're definitely not canon, and they're not really Alien movies, in my opinion. Like, they're definitely much more Predator movies.
Yeah.
And then we had Ridley Scott. Really, you know, I can't remember if I've talked to you about this specifically, but the teaser trailer for Prometheus is maybe the best trailer of anything I've ever seen. It's so,
I don't remember it. I'll have to rewatch it.
Oh man, it's so scary and exciting, and you're just like, It's got the siren and stuff like that. It's really aping the trailer for the first Alien movie, and it's really, really effective. And then I remember going to see it being like, "Huh, okay." And the only the big thing, my big takeaway from that is that movie was the reason why Guillermo del Toro stopped pre-production on At the Mountains of Madness, because it kind of covers the same, ancient aliens kind of
Right.
stuff. And so he was just like, "It's basically the same, so I'm gonna stop." And that makes me mad because I still really
Yeah,
want
and it
the
probably would have been better,
yeah.
almost
Um,
certainly.
and again,
Prometheus is funny because
yeah.
it's Ridley Scott answering a question about the franchise that I don't think anyone really had, whereas Alien Earth is answering questions that I actually did have
Mhm.
about do you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
come away from Alien 1 being like, how did this creature come to exist? I'm like, I don't know. How does any creature come to exist? I was more like, how did Weyland-Yutani know that it was there and that they were willing to sacrifice their very expensive ship and crew to retrieve it? Because it's
Right.
like, how did they know? And it's like, this show kind of does answer that question, you
Mhm.
know? Like, that's the
Yeah.
question I had.
Well, and that's the really interesting thing, is that it is a prequel to the first Alien movie, but it's not
Yeah.
that far in the past. Like
No,
Prometheus
it's
is whatever it
2
is, 100 years,
years.
50 years, something like that.
Yeah.
It's 2 years before Alien. So,
Mhm.
and Holly said in kind of a, because I got to go see the first episode, an unfinished version of the first episode back in like May, I think, like a
Oh,
long
wow.
time ago. Like the VFX hadn't even finished and stuff. But it was still, a really interesting thing to watch, and I was really hyped. But one thing he said is that, these deep space missions they take such a long time, which obviously the show kind of gets into, that the Nostromo was already out there. It was already like they were
Yeah.
already like, sleeping basically. So basically, Weyland-Yutani had multiple ships trying to retrieve these creatures. And again, like we still don't 100% know how they knew where to go to get them. We don't know what planet they went
Right.
to, like all this stuff, which I think it will be really interesting for the second season. Possibly. I mean, I
Yeah,
assume
where did they
Yutani
all
will
come from
be.
the same place? Like, we don't
Yeah,
know. Like, are they
yeah,
from this, there's nothing saying that they can't be.
right. Um, but yeah, so I really dug that, and I just like, we talked about too, like the if there's one thing Ridley Scott did perfectly, it was set the visual tone for all of this stuff. And Prometheus and Covenant are both gorgeous looking films. Like the design and the aesthetic of all of them are just so consistent and scary and everything like that. And I think that Noah Hawley really, and his crew, obviously he didn't do it all himself, but really got that side of things, the Utani kind of like blue
Yeah.
collary look, and then
Mhm.
tried to make a completely separate look for the
Prodigy.
Prodigy, which is the other kind of like main corporation in the movie or in the show. Um, and I think it did a good job of like kind of separating all that
I
stuff.
mean, the production design of the show is just, it's crazy good. Like, I could not believe, you see glimpses of it in the first episode, but it's in the 5th episode where we're really on the Maginot,
Mhm.
and you're like, oh my god. That's why I when I interviewed the production designer, I was just like, this is just like meticulous. Like, this
Yeah.
is, it's really the same without being exactly the same. But I mean, it's, it's meant to be a different ship, but like every detail of like that aesthetic is there, and it's great. It's just like, I love it. I don't know. I feel like there was something in the water in the late 70s, because I feel like if you look at Alien and you look at Star Wars, like that kind of aesthetic hasn't really dated. And I think it's because
Mm,
they didn't try to look futuristic. It
right.
just tried to look they looked very mechanical, very worn, very like used, and that doesn't get dated in the same way like a Star Trek, which I adore, but like Star Trek will always, because it's always trying to look forward, it
Right.
inevitably starts to look dated within 10 years.
I can't remember who said it, but that's a famous. It might have been Arthur C. Clarke. Maybe I'm completely misquoting, but somebody said nothing dates faster than a vision of the future, because
Yeah.
there and like Disney's Tomorrowland is a really good example of that. Like
Oh yeah.
that thing
That's
looks
a whole
so
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like as much as I love it, and we've talked about how much I do really like Star Trek the motion picture, that is the most 70s ass shit I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Um, and that's kind of why I like it. But like
Yeah.
Alien is a completely like it feels like this is just a
It came
thing
out the
that was
same
built.
year.
Yeah,
It came out the
right.
same year, and one is super of the 70s, and I don't feel that way about Alien. I watched Alien on the big screen like I think last year, And I'm like, you
Mm.
know, aside from a couple little things, I'm like, this movie looks just incredible still. It doesn't scream 70s to me in that way.
Mm-mm.
You know, it could be any time. And I think that's something that Noah Hawley like very tapped into, you
Yeah,
know?
and like, it you can maybe levy the complaint that the Maginot and everything looks too much like in
Yeah.
Nostromo, but it would have been the same, you know what I mean? It would have been
It's
the
the same
same class of
company.
ship, basically. It's the
Yeah.
same company, yeah. Um, but yeah, well, I definitely want to devote some time to talking about that episode specifically because I think it's really interesting. So, but the first two episodes really have to set up the premise and then basically give us an interesting kind of riff on an alien adventure where it's not they have to get this alien out of this crashed ship
Yeah.
and then out of this like skyscraper that it crashed into. And we get to meet various characters. Obviously there's the little prologue about the Maginot, but like we get the whole premise of what Prodigy's actually doing, and the boy genius, boy cavalier, who is one of the best villains in TV
Oh,
in the
so
past like
good.
decade. He's so skeezy.
Such a
Um,
punchable face.
yeah.
Like that to his credit, such a
Yeah,
punchable face.
absolutely. But this whole idea of putting, because we've seen synths before, that's baked into the very fabric of what Alien is. They're always
Yeah.
synthetic people that are almost indistinguishable from organic people. Um, but then we also have a cyborg, which is the first time we've ever seen that. So that's just a person
Yeah.
with enhancements. And then we have this kind of mixture, this literally this hybrid where they're putting human minds inside synthetic bodies, which is what the Lost Boys are, which they're children brains inside what
Yeah.
amounts to mature bodies, even though they're still like in their early 20s or whatever. Um, physically, I mean.
Yeah.
And that stuff ends up being really, really interesting in the
Yeah.
first episode and a half, basically, is all just sort of dealing with Wendy, aka Marcy, played by Sydney Chandler, and kind of realizing that she is this new kind of
Her.
person
Yeah.
and that she has all of these abilities that even Cavalier didn't realize she has. What did you make of that stuff? Like, is she too powerful? Do you know what I mean? Like, she
I
has
kind of
all
love
the
it.
yeah.
I mean, it's because I think that's the big mystery of the show. Like,
Mm,
what is she? Well, I mean, what are they all? But like, what have they created by putting the minds of these kids into these bodies? Like, is it really them? I mean, you start getting into like the existential stuff of it. Is it them or are they replicas? You know, is it
mhm.
their soul? You know, if such a thing exists, you know, that's
Yeah.
what it really gets into. Um, I do think, yeah, she's super, super power. I mean, by the end, spoilers, by the end of this, we know that she's, you know, not only can she talk to the xenomorph, she can basically control it. Like it'll
Yeah.
do what she wants. And, you know, she can control other synths. And like, you know, like which is again, like she can control machines, she can control aliens. It's like, what can't she do? You know? And like at the end of the series, she's like, well, we're gonna rule. And then that's very interesting because it's like, I don't know, like we know what happens later in this universe. So
Right.
like is the world secretly run by these hybrid, you know,
Yeah.
like
Well, and we also know
we
that,
don't
like,
know.
Weyland Yutani doesn't go away. Like, even
No.
whatever it is, 12 years later in Romulus, like, it's still Weyland
Yeah.
Yutani's world, basically.
Yeah.
Um, they run everything, and so it's sort of like they are the victors, and yet how could Prodigy not be the victor unless it is something to do with the fact that the hybrids do take over and, like, all this stuff, and,
Right.
um, I love the concept that, like, Cap first of all, Boy Cavalier, again, very punchable, but, like, his dogged obsession with Peter Pan is
Mhm.
it I was gonna say it borders on insanity. It goes way over the like, he is so obsessed with being the young, never aging kind of like he thinks he's Peter Pan, but he's actually
Yeah.
Captain Hook or something
He's
like that.
Captain
That's
Hook. Yeah, he's the villain, yeah.
um, and I sort of love that they are like people out of time. They are lost in that way. Like,
Yeah.
um,
And those every single one of those actors is so good at playing a kid
yeah,
in an adult, but like that thing, like their reactions, everything about them screams like this is a kid. They're all excellent.
yeah. Um, I want to bring up the cast list because they are, they're all truly excellent. But we have, Wendy, who is sort of like ethereal and kind of can just do whatever. But then we also have, who are some of the other ones? Adarsh Gurav, who plays Slightly, is
great.
And also Jonathan Ajayi, who plays Smee, are sort of, they're the most kid-like. They're still kids. I think they might have been even the youngest of the.
They were the youngest of the kids, and we should say, like, the twisted part of this too is like they were all sick kids.
They were all sick. Oh yeah,
exactly. They were all sick kids that were dying. That basically their parents kind of sold off, kind of like. They don't talk about it too much, but like there's some weird shit there.
They lose their basically the parents abdicate like complete. They just are not supposed to like have anything to do with their children anymore, which is a really tough thing. But like, I'm sure, you get enough money, like that's how that,
right.
But also if their bodies are gone, people aren't going to question it because they were sick kids. So
they were sick kids.
But then I really, Irana James plays Curly. And to a lesser extent,
she's good too. She's one of the ones that sells it the least to me. That
I was going to say she's the one who kind of seems the most mature anyway, but like she really wants to be the favorite, even though she isn't, sort of thing.
But I don't know how old she was supposed to be. Like if she was supposed to be like 15 or 16, then I'm like, okay, that tracks then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch the.
Yeah.
But then we have Lily Newmark, who plays Nibs, who is
so good.
Really good and also terrifying. Like she has completely lost her, her interaction with, which ends up being the standout character in the show, which is the squid, the eyeball squid.
The eyeball squid.
Like really sends her over the deep end. She's just like not prepared mentally or emotionally to know that her body is fake, and it's hard to kind of wrap her mind around that. Yeah. And so then she kind of has a break with reality and starts thinking she's pregnant, even though but she doesn't know how people get pregnant. So she just thinks she is. And it's just like, oh my God, like, and everybody kind of has to tiptoe around her, and she has immense strength. And so it's like, what if
she ripped somebody's jaw off?
Yeah. It's the that, I don't know if you know this very strange reference, but the movie It's Alive, it's like a kind of schlocky 70s.
Yes.
It's like, what if when a baby is born, it is like screaming and like, not, people say it's filled with rage, but it's sort of just like, it's all just like pent up kind of emotion from being in the womb for 9 months. But what if a baby had the strength, the ability to kill or to, to take it? So it's like, that's the horror of that movie, and the silliness of it is that it's like a mutant baby basically. But that's it's not dissimilar to what is with these kids, is that she has completely like lost her sense of self at a certain point and needs to be rebooted. And that is a problem in and of itself. Like,
and Marcy does not take kindly to when she finds out, but she's just
not a bit
freaked out.
So I thought that stuff was really interesting, and especially as a kind of, them as a middle point between who I think are maybe my two favorite characters, which is Kirsch, played by Timothy Oliphant, and Morrow, the Wayland Yutani cyborg, played by Babu Sise, who is
so good.
He's good. Like, but the fact that they like instantly hate each other, I was like, this is so good. I talk about that with Noah Hawley in my interview, which again, you can listen to later in the episode. But about like, he's like, you want a showdown between these two characters. Like you want a showdown between two guys who are not good guys. And yet they are sort of like, you kind of feel
who do you root for?
Yeah. Like I thought for sure I was going to like be like early in the season, I was like, okay, Kirsch is a bad guy. And then like halfway through, I'm like, you might actually be a good guy. And then at the end, I'm like, I don't think it matters. I don't think he's either. And that's sort of.
I think Morrow is like, they want us to think he's bad at the beginning of I think they want us to think he's the Ash of the story in the first episode. And then it's like, not so much. Like he really, he did let him die, but like he really was trying to just do his job.
Yeah.
You know, like he was trying to do his job and he doesn't have anything else. His kid's dead. You know, all he has is this. So if anyone's kind of in the right of these two not great guys, it's kind of more, you know, Mr. Morrow.
Yeah,
Like
I suppose
that is their shit. Like, I mean,
yeah.
to a extent, you know.
And that's like really the my favorite little twist of episode 5 again is that's the flashback episode.
Oh yeah,
Which basically acts as a condensed version of the movie Alien. There's more
yeah,
people. I do like the idea that there are other crew members on the Maginot that they're in shifts, and so like
yeah,
day crew doesn't know who night crew is, so that's why like Morrow doesn't know the saboteur because he's just like
yeah. I don't know
he's
these
not in my
guys.
crew basically. Like I don't know these guys. I thought that was kind of interesting, but the thing we see in that or learn in that is that Boy Cavalier set all of this up. Like
Yeah,
from the beginning, we think that he is, well, hey, this is my city. You crashed into my city, ergo it's my stuff now. But he set it up to set it up. Like
yeah,
he's the one who like
and was perfectly willing to sacrifice how many of thousands of people
yeah,
lived in. Yeah,
in this huge high rise.
yeah.
All these really
I love
floppy rich
that there
people.
was like a party going on and they didn't even realize.
They
That's one of
didn't
my
care.
favorite things. Like they were just like they just opened the door and we're having a costume party.
Yep.
And just like the weird aesthetic of this xenomorph attacking like people in like dressed like 18th century Versailles. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny. Like,
And like getting torn in half.
Torn in half.
That
yeah.
episode, man, is so gory. Like
Yes.
when the alien is just on a rampage, like holy cow.
Yeah.
But one thing I do, so not only do we have the xenomorph, and we have 3 actually. So we have, or 4. So that one is killed. Like Marcy kills that one. But then there is the one that is like in her brother's lung that like grows into a small dog, basically. Then there's another one, or I can't remember like which one's which kind of thing, but there's a fully grown one, there's a small pet like one, and then there's the final one at the end, which is like the one that comes out of Dr. Sylvia, which is still just like a little baby, basically.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting that we have like a different life, like parts of life from Alien.
Yeah.
And it sort of feels like after the first 2 episodes, it's not really about the xenomorphs anymore, which I find kind of interesting.
They're just kind of really cool, not window dressing because they serve a function, but they're not the coolest part of the show.
No.
Like, or the most interesting. They're there to remind you this is in that universe and it's kind of about this, but like they're not the coolest. They're definitely not the scariest alien on this show.
Mm.
You know, I don't know if we can be scared about of them in the same way after 45 years. Like it's so ubiquitous that like, and we know what it's going to do. So like they needed to create other aliens.
I agree. But I also think it's so, we get to later in the season when Wendy can talk to the xenomorph. She kind of, after her fight in the second episode, she kind of has this weird connection to them and kind of can pick up on their language and kind of can mimic it and things like that, and has sort of figured out what they say to each other, which I think is really interesting. But there's the one part where like the big fully grown xenomorph, which is just a man in a costume as it always has been, like comes up and is like looking at her and stuff. And I thought that looked very silly. I have to say.
Oh, did you? When it had like the blood on its face, and was that the part like in the jungle?
And it's like we get a side shot and it's like the more we see of this xenomorph from the side, a full body shot, the less cool it looks, I think. I think seeing it in close up and weird, because that's the whole point, is like it's uncanny. Like this looks strange. And there's a reason why even in Aliens, until we get to the actual, queen, which is this whole spidery looking thing, like we only see them in kind of glimpses, like with in muzzle shots and stuff like that. We don't see them fully very much. And I thought that was like one of my few complaints, was just like, okay, well, that just looks kind of silly. Xenomorphs behaving in this way is silly.
Well, it was very funny to me in the scene where like it's in the jungle and it rips through all these guys, because I'm like, oh, this is just straight up Predator. Like this is the most Predator like we've seen of it. And I mean, I have to say, like the show finally makes good. I mean, just by the title alone, they have been teasing aliens on Earth since 1992, because, as you know, we've talked about it. Like, the first trailer for Alien 3 was like, aliens are coming to Earth, and then they were like, no, just kidding.
Yeah.
You know, we've never seen it, and like they're finally doing it, but they're doing it in a way that like because it's on this remote island, like we can buy that, like, okay, maybe they didn't like explode into the population, because that's always the fear. Like, if aliens come to Earth, then Earth is destroyed. Like, they'll just. But I'm like, oh well, if you do it on this island, then they're kind of contained, and you know, maybe not. I mean, we know that they don't, like, from the later movies, but yeah, the Neverland. Although I think it's funny, so many people call it Neverland Ranch. I'm like, you guys, that's something else. I'm like, I like so like other podcasters recap videos I've seen. They're like, on the Neverland Ranch. I'm like, that is something else, people. I'm like,
I don't think we're allowed to use that.
No, like that is something else. But yeah, like, it's just not the coolest part of this show, but it needs to be there. You know, like, otherwise it's, you know, like, I wasn't actually sure when they first announced this show, and Noah Hawley did a lot of press for it. He really kind of downplayed the Xenos in this, and he talked a lot about all the other stuff. And I'm like, is this really even an alien show? And like, oh, it totally is. And yet it's still very much about this other stuff. That's, you know, more Blade Runner than anything else. I would say
that is really something that I find, and Ridley Scott sort of did the same thing, where like he's the least, you know, interested in the xenomorphy part of it. Like,
yes,
even in Prometheus, it's about the creation of them much more so, and about the engineers that he was obsessed with, the space jockeys and all this stuff. He was much more interested in that than the actual beasts, and also about what it means. I mean, the only stuff that like out and out works, I think, in Prometheus and Covenant is the David, the Walter, you know, the replicant stuff, basically. Like, and he's playing in the same world as he did with Blade Runner. But that was something that Hawley said in the early press, was like, you know, so much of the show and about Alien is about dealing with what it means to be human, but that's also what Blade Runner does. And so he had to visually make sure that he was working in the Alien universe and not the Blade Runner universe.
Right. Because they're really robots.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know. I've seen Blade Runner a lot of times. I know they're artificial, but I've always got the sense that they are flesh and blood artificial, maybe with computer brains or whatever. But they are not like the aliens in Alien. The synths in Aliens are robots. They just look like us. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have red blood. They have the white blood. You know what I mean saying? So there is a difference.
Yeah. There's weird like bladders and stuff. And so, you know, when Ash gets, and Bishop for that matter too, like in the second movie when he gets torn in half,
they
like
have organs.
Yeah. That are artificial. And we see that a little bit too. Like, their skin is not real. Like, all this stuff is I think really interesting. But it is still like, what does it mean to be human? And I think putting human brains in synth bodies is, you know, as close as you can get in that universe to really being like Blade Runner-y, I suppose. Because what does it mean to have autonomy? What does it mean to be alive? And because there's all the kind of philosophical debates that some of the characters have, like Kirsch, even though clearly was created by humans, is now at the point where he thinks that he is, you know, humans are meat, he says in the first episode. Like, you think you're not food, but you're still food, kind of thing. And then Morrow saying like, we have to upgrade. I am, you know, I'm what you will never be. I'm a human, an upgraded human, like all this stuff. And there are certainly different, you know, points of view on that idea, but like, I definitely don't think hybridism is the wave of the future. I don't think we're meant to think that's the be all end all.
And also remember, Aliens take place way after Alien, and we don't. You know, there doesn't seem to be any indication that hybrids are a thing in mass quantities 60 years later. Do you know what I mean? So like, what happens there? Like, that's what happens that this doesn't really become a thing that takes over, or maybe it does. I don't know. Like, you know, they're vague enough that we don't really know. But that's the big question. Like, what becomes of these hybrids? Like, because it's such a big leap in technology. Like, it's immortality for humans. It's like he could sell immortality.
Right. And that's how he got, you know, the guy on the ship to like basically agree to, he's like, you'll become immortal. Like, yeah. But that does kind of, raise the question, like, what, and maybe for Cavalier, it is just he's looking for some creature that he can talk to,
Yeah.
that he thinks is of an intellect as good as him, as high as him.
Well, he thinks it's
It's
the sheep.
clearly not me, as I just said something completely out of the bad grammar, um, but yeah, the sheep basically is that creature for him. And is that why because why would he care? Like he's, Adrian Edmondson's character, Adam, sort of raises this at a certain point. He's like, why are you spending all this time on these, organic life forms from space? We have all of this technology that we're waiting to go public on. And like, we do still kind of not really know the answer, but he does want to just be able to have an intellect as, on par with him. And I am excited for next season because we are going to get to hopefully see what the squid eyeball gets to say out of a human
Yes, now
voice.
that it's in a zombie gross body, like,
Yeah.
like, I'm glad that actor gets more to do.
Me too. I was going to say, he's like the one nice guy in the whole show, really.
Well, Joe,
Oh, Joe. I guess Joe is boring, though. I think Joe
is boring. But I like him because I don't know, he has just a very kind face. Like, there's just that actor he exudes sympathy. He's sympathetic.
Yeah.
And you need someone who's just normal.
Right.
You need your POV character who's just like a guy, because everybody's either a synth or a hybrid or a cyborg or some genius scientist. It's like, you just need someone who's just like, that's what the original Alien movies did so well. It's like, these are just people. These are just people, and he's just a dude who cares about his sister, and that's just a very like human basic thing to get behind. Like, I want to save my sister, like, and so I think I like him more than you, just because he exudes that kind of kindness.
And then, I mean, yeah, Alex Lawther is a really good actor, and he of course played Nemec in Andor. So like, who is the most sympathetic character in that entire show? Yeah. So I do agree with that, but like, it just felt like his storyline didn't really go anywhere. Like, I did like that Adam was going to feed him to the sheep.
I'm gonna tell you, that motherfucker in this show has survived. Like, I don't know how many almost near-death things he's had in this show. Like, 3 at least, where it's like, he's dead.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Like, it's crazy. Like, final girl energy in like a huge way. Like final girl who's like made, like, Jamie Lee Curtis has made it through like I don't know how many movies at this point. He has that. I'm like, at some point, I'm like, one of these things has got to get you, kid.
Yeah,
one of them.
That's very funny and true.
Yeah.
Like, he just keeps not dying. Well, I mean, he almost died. He got skewered, and then they gave him a new lung, and yeah, and he just keeps not dying. That's a really interesting.
The eye didn't get him. I mean, that would have been interesting for him as an actor, because it would have been a very different energy. I mean, we're going to finally get an alien in this show or this franchise that speaks. And now we know it's smart. I'm gonna miss the sheep, though. I'm gonna miss that sheep.
The sheep who is just so like
menacing.
I cannot believe that they made a sheep both scary and kind of like sardonic at the same time. I cannot believe they did that.
It's great.
But like it stamping the different digits of pi and then getting frustrated and taking a shit on the ground and like yelling was so funny.
And just the way that it's just like the look that it like constantly like, I hate you, all of you. I hate you, and I'm going to kill you. Like, I'm just waiting to get out of here.
And he because it's his fault that other the one hybrid who does die in the series, like horribly.
Horrible.
It's his fault. Like, it's it's the sheep's fault. He's the one who kind of like and he just does it for lulz, basically.
Yeah.
I really liked in episode 5. It is locked up. It's in a little terrarium, and it's trying to get the attention of the people on the ship to be like, dude, there's a thing behind. I was like,
yes,
this thing is not it's not an animal. Like, it's clearly sentient. I'm also a huge fan of the actor Michael Smiley, who plays like the older engineer on the Maginot, and he ends up being the one that the eyeball goes into. And then
Yes.
he freaking fights the Xenomorph. I was
Oh
like,
my
that is
god.
cool as
Yeah.
shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Michael Smiley back from Spaced when he played Tires, but also in the movie
Oh, that's who that was. Yeah.
Kill List
I didn't
and some
realize.
other, A Field in England. Like, he's a really good actor, but um I was very pleased that he was in the show, first of all. And that was sort of what made me think that clearly we're going to go back to this ship because there's too many like recognizable actors on the Maginot that I'm like, and just kind of interesting characters. Is like, we're going to have to
Yeah.
come back to these at some point.
Yeah, they'll do another flashback. I thought it was very smart of them to do that flashback in episode 5
Mhm.
because I really liked that episode, but as good as it was smart to not just redo Alien as your opening.
100%. Yeah.
Like to just redo that movie, beat for beat. So by the time that you do get it, it's like, oh yeah, this is where this franchise started. It started with this kind of a story instead of just, the first 2 episodes are really, really different. So yeah, I dug that.
Yeah. I thought that was, there's a lot that I just really, really liked about the series. I like that it takes its time as a series ought to, I suppose, and kind of it allows for kind of more breathing. I do think, which is good because there's a million characters too. So
Yeah, there's
like
a
you
lot
really
of
needed
characters.
to have some depth. And I like that like Utani is around. Like she's obviously
Mm-hmm.
the descendant of this, great lineage of corporate overlords, basically. But she's not the main antagonist by any stretch. But I feel like
No,
next season she's gonna have a lot to do.
we have 3 other corporations that we don't know anything about
Yeah,
either.
we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, besides that they
Um,
rule the world. I mean, it's I'm like, oh god, like this is Alien going to be the sci-fi franchise that really predicts like what the future is?
yeah.
Like there's just going to be like 4 corporations that rule everything, or actually
Uh,
5 is generous.
that was one of I know. That was one of my favorite things that Holly said in that early screening I went to. There's a Q&A afterwards, and somebody asked about, like how did you come up with what Earth society was going to be like, basically, because we haven't really ever seen that on. And he's like, from the movies, you get a sense that Weyland Yutani is like this huge corporation, and I figured there would probably be several more on Earth because, yeah, it's 100 years in the future, but I'm not betting against capitalism at this point. And I was like, it's a good point. It is
Yeah.
pretty terrible and omnipresent.
Yeah.
Which I find, I thought that was really cool. Was there anything were there characters, you sort of touched on Curly a little bit, were there characters or were there things about the show that you did not vibe with?
I'm trying to think. I just think that there's too many. I mean,
Very much.
there's just too many characters for a show that like there's only 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We only have so much time. I can't really say I didn't really vibe. I surprisingly vibed with the whole thing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish we'd see a little bit more of the rest of Earth. It seems like once we get to Neverland, it just becomes that.
Yeah.
Like in the early episodes, we get to see like, oh, here's what Southeast Asia looks like, and this is what like in this time period, and maybe it's a budget thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of was. I mean, they might still do it later.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's a very good-looking show.
Oh yeah.
God, this show looks expensive.
Yeah,
like,
there were
in the way that Andor looked really expensive. This show does too.
There were 4 different cinematographers on the show. I mean, obviously there's 8 episodes, so there would need to be broken up because there was a bunch of directors too. But Dana Gonzalez, David Franco, Bella Gonzalez, and Colin Watkinson, excuse me, were the cinematographers on the show, and they absolutely killed it. They just got the look that was necessary, and I really liked spending a lot of time inside that skyscraper because, like, that's where you get to see what Earth society looks like now,
right?
Because a lot of the Neverland facility is basically kind of brutalist. It's sort of, it's not, it's not dissimilar to the way that Oscar Isaac's house in Ex Machina looks, where it's sort of just like, this is just rich people future-y, but like the skyscraper is like, okay, this is what a functional like building would look like. And I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed that quite a bit. But yeah, I agree with that. I also think that the prodigy like soldiers really, and because there's the 2 that are friends with Joe, really not important after episode like 2 or 3. They're not important at all.
No, not at all. Like that's Yeah, they were end up being kind of
And then they
superfluous.
died, so they really weren't important because they
No.
died in the last episode. One of the
Yeah.
two of the only characters who died were the two people who were Siberian and Rashidi were the two,
Yeah.
like, and they were.
Yeah, for an alien show, we need a higher body count.
I was really shocked. That's truly
Yeah.
something. At the end we have, but I will say before I get to what I was about to say, the thing that I really did like about the end is that even though throughout the season it seemed like Cavalier and others were sort of starting to pit the Lost Boys against each other in a certain way, or
Mhm.
that, even Nibs, who is out of her mind, like she's like, Wendy says, you are one of us, basically. And like, or the fact that Morrow is trying to get slightly to like either kill Joe or somebody, and all this stuff. And he has undoubtedly done bad stuff in the service of what he thinks is saving his real life, parents and things like
Yes.
that. But they forgive him at the end. He's with them. He's with the.
Yeah.
So I really like that it was basically kids versus adults by the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they lumped all the adults together, no matter what corporation they work for. It sort of doesn't matter what side they were in. Even Dame Sylvia, who was for most of the season, it seemed like she was at least on their side. But clearly not, because she just
Not
wiped
really.
Nibs's memory, didn't try to talk to her anymore. It was just like, she's dangerous. We got to wipe her memory. And that's
Wendy has a great line, because I just rewatched the final one, and she's when she's talking to her brother, she has a great line that just like, I feel like hits me right. It should hit all of us when she said something like, "It's complicated" is adults' excuse for not doing anything.
yeah.
And I'm
Oh
like,
man.
and I was like,
100%.
yeah, that's me, and I dare say that's most of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, and the way she said it, I was like, ouch. Yeah, and it was like, yeah, it's true.
You got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I was a big fan of the way that ended, and the fact that,
Yeah.
honestly too, that like Morrow is not somebody that from the outside, it seemed like, because we spend a lot of time with him like by himself, so we get to see, and we got to see the
Yes.
flashbacks, so you get to see the inner workings. So I was sort of surprised that Joe would be like, I'll help you get out if you help me get out, basically, like, because they're locked up together.
Yeah.
But the fact that by the end, like, it's Joe and the Lost Boys, and every other person, every other grown-up character has been locked up in this thing. And, they tie them up to the point where they can't move. And like the fact that, Wendy can control the like the straight up synths. Is the implication, I didn't realize I said it that way, but that, because Boy Cavalier talks about his father and what an abusive alcoholic jerk he was and stuff like that. But then he said, I made my own father. Is he talking about Adam Ines at that point?
Oh, that's what I thought.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Because I kind of do wonder, like, why are any of these synths old? Like, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be a reason to they have to serve some kind of fatherly role for somebody. Because, like, who wants to, like, you'd think they'd be like the Lost Boys. Everybody would be like in their early 20s.
Yep.
They'd be in their prime, or 30s maybe. But, like, so yeah, I think that's who he was referring to.
Okay. That's what I took from that. And I think that's super interesting. I loved Adrian Edmondson's performance.
Yeah.
I think he's great anyway. I mean, I showed my wife, who watched the first couple with me and then tapped out. She was like, I'm done. But I was like, I showed her a little bit of the Young Ones. I was like, do you know that that's the same guy from the crazy show The Young Ones? I don't know if you have seen that.
I know The Young Ones, yes. Yes.
Adrian Edmondson plays Vivian, the punk with the studs in his face.
I didn't know that until after I looked, because I had to look up his name or something, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Which just completely, it's just one of those things where I was like, I'm so old. Like that person is a grandpa now is just,
I know.
I can't handle it.
Well, and I watched a little bit of the show that predated The Young Ones, which was like the comic strip or something like that. It was basically that group of comedians had a sketch show on Channel 4 way back in like the early 80s. And it's a lot of just screaming, and that's what the Young
Yeah.
Ones is too. It's just a lot of
Yeah,
people
the Young Ones
screaming.
is a lot of I don't know how much I liked it when I was younger. I don't know if I'd tolerate it now.
No. Well, now we're old. We wouldn't like
Yeah.
it probably.
No.
It's too loud for me.
It's too loud.
But anyway, I thought he was super good. And then when he basically says, he can threaten without actually threatening, which I think is a really good skill for that kind of character. So he was somebody I definitely wanted to call out. I think Oliphant is throwing some nice fat like heaters over the plate on this one, to use a baseball reference. Like he is absolutely killing it.
He's great. Didn't he say, I forget what Noah Hawley thing he was in, where he was like, where he got killed off really quickly or something, and he made Noah Hawley, like, it was an interview with him I read, and he's like, you have to give me something totally different to play this time. And like, he's certainly like going all in.
It's really like, because he was in Fargo. He was in
Fargo, and apparently in Fargo he didn't. I don't know. I didn't watch it. So, but like, that doesn't either last long or.
He was in the season I didn't watch.
Okay.
which was season 4, which is I tapped out of that one. But that's interesting. Yeah. Well, also like he just always plays a lawman. Like that's just a thing he does. Like and he even joked about like Vanity Fair does those like watch your own performances and talk about them and
those,
stuff like that. And I watched one of him yesterday, and he was talking about all these different things, and he was just like, well, I played a sheriff in this one, so it was a big stretch. Like, he gets that. Because even
first time I ever saw him was as a drug dealer, though, in Go. That was the first movie I ever saw him in.
Same. Well, that was why I was like, oh, he's a cop in, and he's the sheriff in Deadwood, and he's like, in Justified and all this stuff. He's even the titular marshal in that Mandalorian episode.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really great that he got to play, he is an authority figure, but he's definitely like more conniving. Like he's, I love the fact that he knows exactly what Slightly is doing. And he's just like,
yes,
where are you going? And we're going. He's like, no, why are you going this way? You should go this way. That's the way that goes directly to the beach. And he's just like, he knows exactly what he's doing, which I think is really fun. Because he, he just is really good at that kind of playing smarmy. He doesn't get to do that very often. And then of course, let's not beat around the bush. I do think Sydney Chandler has a really tough job, which is to play the older sister, even though she is the character of Marcy was a younger sister.
Yeah.
Who was 12. Like, how old is she supposed to be?
12, because she seems a little bit older than some of the others.
Yeah. And she's a little more with it. She understands the world a little bit more, but she's still a kid. But she gets to, that whole first episode where she's like learning what her new synth body can do. She's just sort of like, this is weird, but like she can jump super high and all this stuff. And I love that she uses, when she goes, I'm going to go get my brother back. She like takes a paper cutter knife basically and uses it as a sword.
So good. She's really great. She's like from some lost Jean-Pierre Jeunet movie. She looks like I'm like, is this Amelie? It can't be Amelie. Like the first time I was
the hair definitely like speaks.
Hair, but like just her face, she looks like she's from a French movie.
Yeah.
From the 90s. Like it's just very that.
Do you know she played Chrissy Hind in something?
No, they made a Chrissy Hind movie. I didn't even know that.
No, it was a TV show about the Sex Pistols, and she was in it because apparently she dated Steve Jones for a while, something like that. Okay. I don't know. But anyway, I'd never seen her before the show, and I was like looking into some of her other stuff, and it was just like weird.
She's great.
The daughter of Kyle Chandler, of course. And once you know that,
I did not know that.
Look at her face again, and you'll
now that but I didn't know that. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, okay. I looked it up. Daughter of Kyle Chandler.
Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Synthetic Nepo baby.
Yeah. Everyone's a Nepo baby anymore.
Whatever. I don't get. Some people have a real problem with
Everyone's been a Nepo baby. Jamie Lee Curtis is a Nepo baby. You know
what I
mean?
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore is a Nepo baby, although everybody talked about that one. But
yeah.
Anyway, so what do we think? What do we hope for with the next season?
Well, all I hope for is that this whole series doesn't end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they have a plan.
Right.
And I hope that like it does, wrap up this story in an interesting way, and that we don't like that just drives me crazy. Like when they, I think they were pretty sure they were going to get another season, just by the way that this is definitely a cliffhanger. So yeah, I just want them to explore more. Like I want to understand, like, is Marcy like an alien queen in synthetic form? I mean, that seems to be kind of what they're doing with this. Like, she can control these xenomorphs. Like, there's so many questions I want answered.
And yeah,
I
what is
Noah Hawley said one day, he says, like, before the show ends, like, I kind of want to see like the other side of the phone call to the Nostromo that like they were. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know what the other side of that phone call was. When it's like, all crew expendable, you have to get this thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'd like to see that. But like, I just want to, like, I want them to go nuts. Like, I love that this show just is going in all these weird directions that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
For this franchise, which has been very samey for a while.
I really want to see, to that, we see it maybe a little bit, but like, I want to see what the Weyland-Yutani, I want to see the other corporations, and
yes.
But like, what does the world look like from these other corporations? Because Prodigy is very Southeast Asia. They shot in Thailand for Thailand, so like, it's not supposed to not be Thailand. So like,
right.
So I like that, but I would like to see, like, some of the other corporations, how they impact it all. Who knows? It's
maybe
the five
they're just
families,
not
basically.
that important. Yeah, they might not be. Yeah, it might be like the five families, like in The Godfather, there's the five families, but really we only care about two.
Right.
And it might be something similar here, where like, yes, we have to establish that there's these other corporations, but they may not matter that much, or they do. Who knows? Like,
yeah,
we'll find out. It just depends. I just hope that there's a plan, and that they, he gets to tell a full story. He did with Legion, which was another great show,
and that was a 3-season show, and I
feel
like
a 3-season show. I bet you this is too.
Yeah,
I mean, what gets like more than that these days anyway, especially expensive shows,
right? But I think that's totally okay. Like, these are big episodes. It's not, and it is very serialized, and it's very hard to keep a serialized show going that long. Nowadays.
Especially nowadays. I saw something on Instagram recently. Someone was like, what's a show you like that went longer than 3 seasons? I'm like a lot. And then I'm like, oh, I guess that's not that common anymore.
No.
I'm like, yeah, I can name you like 10 shows that went longer than 3 freaking seasons.
Yeah. My favorite shows when I was a kid, like, all went 9 seasons.
Yeah. Like, maybe not 9, but like,
well, X-Files went 9, although it was only good for 7. Really. Buffy went 7.
Star Trek, all the 90s Star Treks went 7. 7 seasons with 25 episodes, like, crazy.
Incredible, right?
And now we get these. I mean, there's good things and bad things. That's a whole other show. But like, I am very tired of the super, super short seasons, and I'm even more tired of like waiting 2 to 3 years between seasons for show. That is absurd to me.
The very fact that we're like, you just lose all momentum that way, and that's something I do worry about with this is that, like, even Fargo, which is, in general, I mean, every season is completely different, so that's an issue
that's
in and of itself. But the fact that it was a much less expensive show to make, and even that took years between, and there's no way this isn't going to take years, like, which is a bummer, because I want to know what happens right away.
Until we're lucky if we see a season 2 in like 2027. We're lucky.
Yeah.
God knows what the world will look like.
Yeah, I know. This is neither here nor there, but it is something I find interesting, is that they, quote unquote, wrapped production on Avengers Doomsday, even though there are characters yet to be cast. What?
You saw the leak of the pictures. Like, there was like just this week, somebody had released like an embroidery, like something.
Oh yeah, like it was a wrap gift, apparently.
And we got to see like what the X-Men are going to look like. And they're very comic booky.
Coded,
yes. But I was like, oh, is this really the cat? Is this really the full cat? Can't be. Like, I was like, I mean, it's a lot of people, but the names that are missing are somewhat significant.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that they're done with that movie.
I can't, right? And also the fact that it's coming out after Spider-Man, but Spider-Man basically just started production, is also like pretty sus. Yeah. Really a different topic, but
yes. But yeah, I'm sick of these long, like, I have to say, kind of going back to Marvel, when Marvel announced Daredevil Born Again season 3, I'm like, that's how you do it. Don't wait. Like, just the second season just wrapped. Start getting into the, like, give us like the way that, like, I'm not saying it has to be like broadcast TV was when we were growing up, which is like, they were on the air for 9 months, they had the summer off. That might be of its time, but like the way that cable, like Dexter or True Blood or this stuff, it's like every summer you knew you were going to get a season.
Yeah.
And that season was going to run about 10 episodes, and it was consistent, as opposed to this thing of like, Wednesday was like the biggest example of like, her brother, like, just completely, it was supposed to be like a summer. It's like, oh, you had a growth spurt this summer. I'm like, he's another person.
Well,
It's
here
3
we are
years
about to,
later.
we're about to get the final season of Stranger Things
Oh my
100 years
God.
after.
It's crazy. It's like, that's like 9 years, and they've only, because remember, they don't do that many episodes per season.
No.
Like, that this show, I mean, it's credit to them that people care still.
Yeah.
Because the gaps between, there was like that it I laugh because, like, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise went through 7 movies and multiple iterations in the same amount of time that Stranger Things has been going on.
Well,
And
they made Star Wars movies. Like, they were really
oh my
making Star Wars
God.
in a fast clip in the, from 2015 to 2019. They were making
Yep.
movie a year.
I mean, and some people think that hurt them.
Yeah.
Maybe they did, maybe that had nothing to do with it, but like, I do like that they were consistent. I liked that they were, we didn't have to wait that long. Like, I don't know. But this whole thing of like I'm now knowing that I'm like, oh, I hope I'm alive when freaking Alien Earth season 2 happens at this point.
Well,
I think it will happen. It's been very successful for them. Like, I think ratings wise, it's been very successful. So I would be shocked if it didn't get one, but like, I hate that we have to wait forever. And I'm sure we will have to wait forever.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like 464 million minutes between August 11th and 17th. That's how they do streaming nowadays, is the number of minutes streamed.
Right.
The 7th most streamed original series, is it of the year or of all time? It doesn't say.
Oh, I don't know.
But anyway, it is very popular, and I think more than anything that Noah Hawley has made, even Legion, which is weird, which is a weird show.
It's a weird ass show.
This feels like a franchise show. It's doing weird stuff, but it still really feels like it is a franchise show. And so I think that not killing off a bunch of characters and stuff like that is a way to be like, this is a show that's going to be around for a little while. So let's,
I am curious too. They're doing an Alien Romulus sequel. And I'm very curious if, like, with the success of this show, whether these things will tie in together at all. Because they could. Like,
there's a weird number
thematically.
I didn't expect Romulus to tie into Prometheus at all, and yet it did. So
it did. Like, albeit slightly, but it's there.
Yeah.
Like, like, I'm very curious to see what they do with the sequel to that, and if it at all mentions, hybrids, cyborgs, things that were introduced in Alien Earth.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I guess we shall find out. The one person who might know the answer is Mr. Noah Hawley, who is of course, the creator, writer, producer, director of Alien Earth. I had the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Hawley a few days ago about the end of the season, and you will hear that right now. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. We here at Nerdist are a huge fan of the show. Fans of the show. And I have some questions. This will go out after the finale, so there won't be any spoilers.
But
I think one of the things that surprised me the most about the finale is how many main characters are left alive at the end. I think that's something that especially after episode 5, where we know everyone dies basically in that episode. What was your sort of thought process? Did you ever think about, I should probably kill some more people at any point?
Well, I mean, I certainly told the actors the show's called Alien. Everyone's going to die eventually, right? Is the idea. I mean, you see that with The Walking Dead, right? I mean, it's no one can live forever. But, it's where a TV show is different than a movie. Alien movie is a 2-hour survival story in which, if you're lucky, one person survives. But in a TV show, I need you to invest in characters over a long period of time. And so, what I wanted was for the deaths of of this season to feel meaningful to people. I mean, we only do. I mean, outside of the Maginot, we only have one face hugger moment in the whole season, which may surprise some people coming into it because they would imagine. I mean, Romulus had 700 face huggers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I feel like I wanted it to be meaningful. The fact that it's Arthur and the fact that on some level he's the moral center of the show. It makes it tragic in a way that is harder to shake emotionally, and that felt valuable to me.
And that scene where when the facehugger leaves him before the chest burster comes out is possibly like the saddest scene I've seen in any Alien movie, like, because we know what's coming, obviously, and the kids don't really know what's happening, and he definitely doesn't know what's happening. I mean, this is more just like a gushing of that moment because I think it's really great. But was that something too that you were like, okay, Arthur is the moral center. Let's make sure that everyone feels his death as acutely as possible.
Yeah, I suppose I should apologize to the audience, but on some level, because making people feel the tragedy, they're hard moments to shake, and the moment where he tells these kids, like, it's okay, those of us who love you will take care of you. And then, they both hold his hands because they are just children, right? In that moment, they feel more like children than any other moment in the whole show. And you think, oh, thank God this guy's there to take care of these kids. And of course he's not there the next minute after that, So, it's Fargo. I always talk about Fargo as a tragedy with a happy ending, and I do feel like the rules of tragedy and the rules of drama are different, and that element of tragedy of the wrong person dying or something happening that was avoidable if people had made different choices, it is harder to shake.
I was also sort of, even some of the grown-up characters that we thought were sympathetic, like Dame Sylvia, I think is a big example, comes down feeling like, at least as far as Wendy and the kids are concerned, as antagonists, as we see they're all chained up at the end. Was that something that from the beginning you sort of hit on, like it was going to end up kind of being kids versus adults in some way?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, it was interesting with Essie, who plays Dame Sylvia. I mean, she of course inhabited that character fully, and she said to me sort of early on in the process about Wendy, she said, well, she must really see me as her mother, as a mother figure. And I thought, I didn't say, but I thought, no, actually, she's been taken from her family, right? Taken to this strange place. And this nice woman, and yet this strange woman who's doing this stuff to her, that's exactly the blind spot that Dame Sylvia has, right? Which is, my intentions are good, and so I am good. When the reality is, as Wendy says, you're just experimenting on us, right? That's also true. So I do think the idea that you have a character like Dame Sylvia who sees herself as a force for good is almost more dangerous than someone like Boy Cavalier, who's very clear about the fact that, no, I own these kids, and he's very clear that the morality doesn't really enter into it.
Yeah. Before seeing this series, I never knew that I needed to see Michael Smiley fight a Xenomorph, and yet I'm very pleased that happened. The eyeball squid has become like one of our, around the office, we were always talking about how scary it is.
Yeah.
And as the last couple of episodes show us, like, it's much more intelligent even than we thought. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the development of that creature, and like, the pie scene, I think, is a really good example of like, oh wow, this is like really an intelligent creature, and Boy Cavalier obviously like clings to that, but like what was the development process of that, getting to that point with that creature?
Well, I thought a lot when I made Legion, that which was a sort of X-Men spinoff. I mean, the X-Men originally were called the Uncanny X-Men, right? And uncanny is this word that Freud wrote a whole essay about. And basically, it's this idea that when familiar things act in unfamiliar ways, it's the most unsettling, right? So that's why a haunted house will always bother us, because your house isn't supposed to do that, right?
Right.
And so on some level, a sheep is the most benign animal that you can find, and therefore by doing this, I've created that tension. It's just wrong, right? And so I feel like, that's where the sort of comedy horror line, works to the best advantage, and why you see, like, with Jordan Peele or Zach Kreger, it's that thing where you're like, I see the comedy in this,
right,
but it's just disturbing, right? And it's Nick Cage and Longlegs, where you're like, I don't know how to feel about this.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous and it's terrifying at the same time. And so, on its face, the eye, if it were just an eyeball with tentacles that popped your eye out and took over your brain, it would be the worst thing you ever saw.
Right.
But the fact that, well, but it actually may be smarter than a dolphin, and we don't know at this point if it really knows what pi is. Is there a whole civilization out there,
right,
of hosted, that are playing hosts to these things? Could they actually take over a world, in a way that's not just like animals killing us, but controlling us? I think that adds a level of fear to it that feels existential.
Absolutely. I think I have time for one more question. So I wanted to ask you about the Xenomorph speech that that Wendy is able to employ. Logistically, like, how did you figure out, like, what noises is she making? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. Well, and I didn't want to wait, right? So when we were in prep, I was like, we need to find a sound designer and begin to work not only what that creature sounds like, but the other creatures, so that we're able on set, with the actors and to really begin to play the reality of what this would sound like. And so, I worked with the design team. It was very important to me that these sounds be analog. There was an early iteration in which I could tell they were digital, and there's a really interesting, if you analyze one of the main sounds, you can hear that it's marbles, right?
Yeah.
In a way that is one of the things I love about sound design, right? Is that taking things and creating sounds that then get used in other ways. And so that communication, that language, was very important. What do they sound like when they're in pain? What do the babies sound? What do the eggs sound like versus the adult creatures, etc.? So a lot of time and thought went into that, for sure.
And actually, one last question.
Yeah.
The showdown, I guess, throughout the season between Kirsch and Morrow is something that I was really stoked about. It seems like Morrow is the victor more so than Kirsch, at least in that fight. Are we going to see more of that, I guess, going forward? Should we get more? Is there going to be? Is that going to continue?
Who doesn't love a great rivalry?
Absolutely.
And when you have Marshall Givens, right?
Yeah.
And you have Babu, it's I love a little mano a mano.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say chapter 1, certainly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Like I said, we're huge fans of the show. We can't wait to kind of delve into it further on the site, but really appreciate your time and congratulations.
I love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Noah Hawley, for talking to me about this show that we really enjoy. I wish I had more than 10 minutes, but that is the way of the thing quite often. But who knows? Maybe for season 2, we can get him on for a full episode, and then you and I could just pepper him with questions.
Yeah, season 2.
He's a really interesting guy. He's a really smart guy. And he, of course, played Marcy's dad, Marcy and Mr. Hermit, I guess. That's Noah Hawley in the flashbacks. Yeah, Eric, do you have any final thoughts about this season of Alien Earth? Did you expect to like it as much as you did?
No, I thought it would be okay because I like Noah Hawley and I like Alien. So I'm like, oh, this is probably interesting. I didn't think I would dig it as much as I did. Like, I really did like it a lot, and it felt like, I don't know, like the injection that this franchise needed. As much as I liked Alien Romulus was very much like, here's what you like, you know, pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Like, and it did a good job of that. I'm not against that. You know, I don't have a problem with The Force Awakens. I don't have a problem with it, but it's very that kind of thing of like, here's what you like, you know, cover band. You know, and sometimes the cover band is good. Like, I'd rather go see a Morrissey cover band right now than Morrissey. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah,
you know?
That's true.
So, you know, and so I liked it, but this really takes it in fun new directions, and I'm, you know, I'm very excited for more, and I hope it's soon.
And I really think it just all depends on what you like about the Alien franchise. What do you want out of it? You know, because, you know, friend of the show and somebody who is not friend of the show, literally a coworker of ours who has been on the show a bunch, but who has spent a lot of time making videos about the aliens, the aforementioned Adam Murray, was not super keen on this season. Didn't like it very much. And I think that that's sort of like, it's an interesting thing because, like, he obviously loves the franchise as much as we do, and yet he got different things out of this. Was not, and maybe I haven't asked him about why, but
a few people have not, like, I've noticed them, like, they just want more Xenomorph. I think there's more people who are invested in the Xenomorph part of it, and I'm not that invested in the Xenomorph part.
Well, there's only so much you can do. I mean, not so much you can do, but on a show, you need characters who can speak, and you can't just have people getting picked off left and right. That's not interesting. It's good for a movie.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why even Romulus ended with a weird, you know, cosmic horror nightmare instead of just a Xenomorph fight, because it's like, we've seen that before. We know what that is.
Yeah.
That is one of the scariest endings of any Alien movie, though, was when that weird, tall nightmare creature comes like crawling through the duct.
Oh. Yeah. It's fucking terrifying.
Isn't it weird how in two different things, recently, what's her face? Isabella Merced plays a pregnant character who is like trying to hide the fact that she's pregnant, and then in a post-apocalypse or whatever, like a weird sci-fi world.
That's weird. Yeah, that's very true.
And also, she's Hot Girl. So those are three things. She is having a moment. Good for her.
She's having a moment. Good. Yeah, totally. Good for her. She rules. I like her.
But yeah, so we really liked Alien Earth. But tell us, what do you think? Let us know. You can email the show. I haven't plugged this in a very long time. You can email the show at laserfocus@nerdist.com, and I will, you know, respond probably. I don't got much else to do. That's not true. Eric, what can people look forward to that you are particularly excited about, that you've written recently or about to write or anything like that they can find on nerdist.com?
I've written a ton of Alien Earth stuff, so if you liked hearing me talk about the show, like, yeah, I've interviewed a bunch of cast members. I've interviewed the production designer. I have a lot of Alien Earth content out there right now.
You sure do.
And Peacemaker too, but so yeah, you can you can find me on Blue Sky and every single day on Nerdist, pretty much.
Yes. You can find, I recently got to interview Zach Kreger about weapons and about Aunt Gladys specifically, which was really interesting. If you listened to the show maybe a month ago, I talked to Jules about how much I thought Amy Madigan's performance deserves an Oscar nomination this year. We'll see. Probably won't get one, but she is so stinking good in that movie.
I know.
And so I talked to him about his kind of inspirations, and he mentioned, I talked to you, Eric, about this yesterday, but Lil from Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me was an inspiration for the look of Aunt Gladys.
Totally. And I think I thought that somewhere when I saw it, like in the back of my mind, I was like, so yeah, you know, the influence of Twin Peaks is forever.
Always. People love Twin Peaks, and I think that they are correct.
Yes.
You can also follow me on Letterboxd. It is well into spooky season. Next week, we will have our first spooky season episode of Laser Focus, but you can follow what I've been watching. A lot of Japanese found footage movies, as I mentioned last week. I'm also watching a bunch of, just as is usual, Italian Gothic horror stuff from the 60s and 70s, which I find really fun. But yeah, if you have any horror recommendations for me too, you can follow me on Letterboxd, Kyle_Anderson. Okay. Eric, thank you as always for being on the show. Thank you very much, Mr. Noah Hawley, as well, for talking about Alien Earth, a show I'm sure you are tired of talking about at this point. Maybe not. Good for you. But until next week, when I'm not lying. Eric, you will not be on the show next week.
Okay. I believe you.
Just so you know, you'll be on the show in a few weeks, but not next week. But until next time, I've been Kyle Anderson. Join me again next time on Laser Focus when my guest will be a different person. Bye-bye. Laser Focus is a production of Nerdist Industries and Legendary Digital Networks. It was produced, edited, and hosted by me, Kyle Anderson. For more, visit Nerdist.com.